Have you ever wondered about the incredible story behind the success of Domino's? Before becoming a billion-dollar company, Domino's was just an underappreciated business. But did you know that the founder of Domino's had once been homeless? In this video, we will reveal the unbelievable truth about the history of Domino's and how the founder's determination and entrepreneurial spirit transformed it into one of the most popular pizza chains in the world. From being a two-time college dropout to spending nights in the store, the founder's journey to success is nothing short of incredible. So stay tuned to discover the remarkable story of Domino's and how it rose to fame. On March 17, 1937, Tom, the unwanted child, was born in Ann Arbor. Tom's father passed away on Christmas Eve when he was only 4 years old. Tom and his brother Jim were both placed in foster home by their mother, who was no longer able to support them alone. Tom got into a fight on his first day in the foster home, and day after day he longed for his mother's presence. Nearly 7 years later, Tom's mother brought the family back to Traverse City, where Tom started school because she had trained as a nurse and now could support her two sons. Father Russell Pacino, who was aware of Tom's family situation and who he met at his new Catholic school, offered him odd jobs at the school and church for 35 cents an hour. Tom transferred to a new school after finishing 7th grade, but he was eager to work and strolled up and down the town's main street looking for a job. Tom found a job selling newspapers and picking cherries for the summer, but quickly discovered that the work was tiresome and difficult. He developed the idea to build a device to shake down the trees and catch the cherries, though, after starting to think like an entrepreneur. Then, in an effort to increase his income and further cultivate his entrepreneurial spirit, he started fishing. However, this caused frequent arguments with his mother, which eventually led to her placing him and his brother back in foster care. Tom eventually found employment at a bowling alley, working long shifts from 6:30 until midnight, 5 days a week, while shifting from farm to farm. When he relocated to a rundown farm without electricity in the winter, his living conditions deteriorated further. Tom persisted and maintained his optimism despite the challenges he faced. He decided to pursue his dream of becoming a priest after reflecting on his life's direction one day while shoveling manure. Tom was able to achieve his goals with the help of his mother, who used her savings to pay for his seminary education. In contrast to the other boys who frequently experienced homesickness, Tom felt at home and at ease in the seminary. He was a bit of a troublemaker, but he only got into silly things like pillow fights and talking in the study hall. His time in the seminary was regrettably brief because he was asked to leave and was informed that he did not have a calling. Tom's aspiration to become a priest was dashed by this, forcing him to return to living with his mother, with whom he frequently quarreled. Tom was embarrassed and ashamed when one day his mother sent a police officer to pick him up and take him to juvenile delinquent home without telling him. Fortunately, his aunt and uncle took over his care, but he had lost interest in doing well in school. But he made the decision to work hard to be the last student in his class to graduate when he noticed his aunt getting ready for his graduation. Tom did better in school, but was unable to pay the tuition, so he joined the Marine Corps, under the impression that it was the Army. Despite the error, Tom thought that making it through the Marines would equip him for anything. He chose to focus on developing his mental and physical health during his training, indulging in motivational literature and imagining himself creating an empire. Tom lost his chance to pursue his college dreams when he was released from the Marines in 1959. He had saved $2,000 for tuition, but a cunning businessman pushing a quick money-making scheme caused him to lose everything. He hitchhiked from San Diego to Ann Arbor with just $15 in his pocket, then moved in with his younger brother Jim. He managed to secure a supervisor position at a nearby newspaper and scraped together just enough money for his tuition. But after 3 weeks, he had to drop out because he couldn't afford the textbooks. He started selling newspaper subscriptions in an effort to increase his income and found a ton of customers offering delivery. He discovered the value of seizing opportunities when they present themselves through this experience. He was able to pay his tuition and books when the following semester rolled around, but the workload was too much for him, and he once again dropped out. He was already a 2-time college dropout at the age of 23, and his car was in poor condition. He was saved by his younger brother Jim, who, after becoming despondent about his future, learned that a small business called Dominick's in Pitalaniti, closed to Eastern Michigan University, was up for sale at a reasonable price. In order to give Tom enough time to study, Jim suggested that they buy it together while trading off shifts. Tom took out a $500 loan to buy a store with Jim, even though he only had $77 in his bank account. Tom was left in charge after Jim fled out of fear after realizing how much work it was to run the store. Tom was initially dissatisfied and left homeless, but he made the decision to turn his pizza shop into the best in the nation. Tom could not afford to eat his own pizza because the store was losing money every week. He eventually lost his home and spent the night in the shop. When half of his staff didn't show up one night, he decided to limit the menu, and it ended up becoming the most successful night ever. Tom made the choice to offer free delivery and a limited menu, making his pizza shop the pioneer in this regard. Tom decided to open a second store in Mount Pleasant, close to Central Michigan University, after the first one in Pitalaniti made a profit. He was overcome with fear as soon as he signed the contract, though, wondering why he would gamble on a second store when the first was already a success. He had, however, already signed the contract and made the necessary purchases. Despite his reservations, expanding to a second location proved to be a wise choice, as both locations quickly rose to the top of the list of the busiest pizza joints in the nation. On-campus students and customers who ordered deliveries accounted for the majority of their customers. After finishing his Marine training, Tom eventually grew his company against the grain. However, the previous owner called him when he opened his third store to tell him that he could no longer use the name due to customer confusion. The name Domino's, suggested by one of Tom's drivers, became his as a result. Tom faced many difficulties while delivering pizzas, including the inability to keep the ingredients moist while preserving the crispness of the crust. He asked a manufacturer to make a corrugated paper box with holes to help with insulation and heat retention to combat this problem. Tom persisted in pushing for this development of the new box design in spite of the manufacturer's initial resistance. Today, American technology can put satellites into orbit, but it seems impossible to punch a hole through a piece of cardboard with a clean edge. But Tom's creative and practical suggestions, heated pouches, conveyor ovens, dough trays, and commissionaries became the industry norms and helped build a billion-dollar empire in the late 1960s. Tom was motivated by Ray Kroc of McDonald's and Josh Brown of KFC, who both turned a small restaurant into significant franchises while attending a franchise seminar at Boston College. Tom was inspired to concentrate on franchising as well as this. Tom intended to open a new store every week by 1969, despite the widespread perception that delivery services were not profitable. He was able to open 32 Domino's restaurants, but the majority of them were a failure, leaving him with a staggering $1.5 million in debt. He handed over the management of his business to a bank in order to avoid bankruptcy. The bank then hired a purporting expert who made matters worse by raising prices and lowering quality. In the end, the bank gave him back the business within a year, but it was the worst financial shape it had ever been in. Franchisees and unpaid suppliers filed numerous lawsuits. Tom had more than 1,000 creditors to deal with, and nearly 150 of them were suing him. He spoke on the phone for hours each day, explaining that he needed to cover his basic expenses like rent and food in order to maintain his business and pay them off one at a time. He managed to pay off his debt within a year and gradually won back the trust of his creditors. It's amazing to think how a struggling college dropout with just $15 in his pocket went on to build one of the largest pizza chains in the world. Tom Monaghan's story of perseverance, hard work, and determination is truly inspiring. We hope you enjoyed learning the unbelievable truth about the history of Domino's and the incredible journey of its founder. It's a reminder that success often comes from humble beginnings and the willingness to seize opportunities when they arise. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.